Roll Tide and welcome to TideTV This Week. I'm Roger Hoover, joined by my co-host, Kara Goldstein. Roll Tide, Kara.
Roll Tide, Roger. Another big week of wins and another big week of SEC matchups.
Yeah, the Alabama baseball and softball teams had big weekends as they both came away with series wins over top 10 teams on the road.
Yeah, baseball swept number 7 Ole Miss and softball won 2 out of 3 against number 6 Florida.
We start with baseball as Coach Bohannon's squad swept the Ole Miss Rebels for the first time since 2014 and the first time in Oxford in 25 years.
The Crimson Tide bats were hot to start the series in Game 1. Alabama totaled 12 hits on 7 runs, led by Drew Williamson, who had 3 RBIs. Trailing 2-1 in the third, Williamson's 2 RBI double put the Crimson Tide up 3-2. The Tide tacked on 4 more runs after that as all 9 Crimson Tide starters reached base safely on the night.
Garrett Mcmillan was brilliant on the mound as he allowed just 1 earned run on 3 hits, striking out 7 in 7 innings of work. The Crimson Tide started the series off in Oxford with a 7-4 win in Game 1.
Things will be a little more dramatic in Game 2. Ole Miss with back-to-back homers in the bottom of the third to take the lead at 2-1. After the Crimson Tide retook the lead in the top of the fourth with a couple runs, the Rebels added 5 runs in the bottom of the fourth. The big hit was the 3-run homer from Jacob Gonzalez to give Ole Miss the 7-3 lead. That was Gonzalez's second home run of the game. But the Tide then tacked on 2 runs in the 6th on an RBI single by Dominic Temez and a 2-run double off the bat of Jim Jarvis.
Then in the 7th, down 1 run with the bases loaded and 1 out, Drew Williamson cranked one over the right field wall for a grand slam homer into the student section there in Oxford. The hit by Williamson, his 5th RBI of the game, put Alabama back on top 10-7, but the 7th-ranked Rebels weren't going down without a fight. Jacob Gonzalez hit his 3rd homer of the game in the next inning. That 2-run shot cut the Crimson Tide's lead to just 1 at 10-9. Then in the 9th, the veteran, Tim Elko, led off the inning with a solo shot over the left field wall to tie the game at 10-all. Dylan Ray got the final out, striking out the final 2 batters to send the game into extra innings.
In the top of the 10th, with the score tied at 10, 1 on and 2 out, Zane Denton crushed the pitch deep over the wall in right field for the game winner. It was Denton's first hit of the series, and it came at just the right time. Dylan Ray picked up his first win of the season as the Tide won the series with the 12-10 win in 10 in Game 2.
Going for the series sweep on Sunday, the Tide jumped out on the Rebels early as the Crimson Tide never trailed in this game. Zane Denton gave Alabama the 1-0 lead in the first with an RBI double to left center. Then Dominic Temez followed that up in the third with a 2-run double to give Alabama the 3-0 lead. Ole Miss got on the board with a 2-run shot from Tim Elko in the 6th inning to make it 3-2. Tommy Seidel answered right back with a solo shot to left field to give the Tide a 2-run lead at 4-2.
After the Rebels, Kemp Alderman hit another solo homer in the 7th to cut Alabama's lead to just 1. The Tide answered back with a couple of home runs of their own. Andrew Pinckney hit a solo shot of his own to right field to make it 5-3. And then in the 9th, it was Zane Denton again. After hitting the game winner on Saturday, Denton hits another 2-run shot in the top of the 9th to put the game out of reach, letting the Crimson Tide win the game.
Grayson Hitt picked up the victory, tossing 6 1/3 innings, allowing just 3 runs and 3 hits, while also striking out 8. Alabama picked up the win in Game 3 as the Tide swept the 7th-ranked Ole Miss Rebels with a 7-3 win in Game 3.
Wow, what an incredible series by the Tide, Roger. It was the first time Alabama had swept Ole Miss in Oxford since 1997, and the Tide's first sweep of the Rebels since 2014.
Those 3 wins also gave Alabama 6 consecutive wins and 8 wins in their last 9 contests.
Kids are excited, and I think they're playing with a lot of confidence. And, playing in this league, I mean, it's inherent in our sport, but especially in this conference, you got to manage the highs and the lows. And we certainly stubbed our toe quite a few times early in the season, and happy for the kids. They've had some short-term success, and hopefully we can carry this confidence and momentum throughout the rest of the season.
With the big pitching performance in Game 1 of the series, Garrett Mcmillan was named the SEC Co-Pitcher of the Week. The junior from Tuscaloosa allowed just 2 runs on 3 hits as he struck out 7 over 7 innings of work against the 7th-ranked Ole Miss Rebels.
And with that big series sweep of number 7 Ole Miss on the road in Oxford, Alabama moved up into the rankings for the first time this season. Alabama entered the D1Baseball.com top 25 at number 24 this week. The Rebels, who the Tide swept, dropped to 1 spot behind the Tide at number 25. Crimson Tide is one of 8 SEC teams ranked in this week's top 25.
On Tuesday, the 24th ranked Crimson Tide took on Belmont for a midweek game at the Joe, and the story was the Tide's strong pitching performance. Ben Hess got the start. He pitched 4 innings of one-hit ball, striking out 7 and not allowing a run as he picked up his first win of the season. 4 other relievers combined to throw 5 innings, allowing just 1 run on 5 hits.
After a Jim Jarvis single up the middle to score Bryce Eblin, Zane Denton had RBI singles in the 3rd and 5th innings for the scoring for the Crimson Tide, defeating the Belmont Bruins 3-1. Now with that win, the Crimson Tide have now won 9 of their last 10 games, including a season-high 7 straight wins. And Alabama is in a 3-way tie for second place in the SEC West at 7-5, just 1 game back behind first-place Arkansas.
This weekend, the 24th ranked Crimson Tide will travel to Knoxville to take on number 1 Tennessee. It's going to be a tough matchup for the Tide, Roger. The Vols are 31-2 overall and 12-0 in the SEC. The Alabama softball team had a big road series this past weekend as well, as the Tide traveled to Gainesville for a 3-game series with the 6th ranked Florida Gators.
Tide got some big hits at just the right time to win the series over the Gators. We'll have the highlights and more coming up next, right here on TideTV This Week.
TideTV This Week is presented by the University of Alabama, where legends are made. Ford, for great offers on F-150, see your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Crimson Tide.
Straightaway center. Oh, baby, did he do it? Yes, he did.
And now Drew Williamson, look out downtown. Gone.
Throw there is not in time, and Alabama is a winner. Both teams had a chance to celebrate today, but it's Bama's that counts.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week. The 4th ranked Alabama softball team traveled to Gainesville this past weekend to take on the 6th ranked Florida Gators.
The matchup featured the 2 highest ranked teams in the SEC facing off against one another.
In Game 1 on Saturday, the 4th ranked Tide jumped out to a huge lead. Alabama plated 2 runs in the 2nd on this double down the left field line by Jenna Lord. Then in the 5th, the Tide tacked on 5 more. After a 2-run single off the bat of Kaylee Tao, Jenna Lord brought home 2 runs again. Another 2-run double from Lord made it 6-0 Crimson Tide.
Dallas Goodnight brought Lord home on a single back up the middle to make it 7-0 Bama. Those 7 runs would be more than enough for Montana Fouts as she went the distance, pitching 7 innings, allowing just 3 runs on 4 hits. Fouts struck out 11 batters en route to her 16th win of the season as the Tide took Game 1 from the Gators on their home turf, 8-3.
It was a pitcher's duel in Game 2 on Sunday. Fresh off her perfect game in Game 3 against Georgia, Lexi Kilfoyle got the start and she continued her dominance. Kilfoyle blanked the Gators through 5 innings as the time was scoreless. Bailey Dowling changed all of that in the top of the 6th. After an Ashley Prangy triple, Dowling delivered a double back up the middle to score Prangy. Allie Shipman would be thrown out at home, but the Tide took the 1-0 lead.
Florida answered right back in the bottom of the 6th. Former Alabama shortstop Skylar Wallace erased the goose egg off the scoreboard for the Gators with this blast to center field. That tied the score at 1-1. The game would go to extra innings. In the top of the 9th, Bailey Dowling crushed the pitch down the left field line for the leadoff home run. That shot by Dowling made it 2-1 Crimson Tide. Montana Fouts came on in the bottom of the 9th to close out the game. Montana got the final 3 outs to pick up the save. Kilfoyle got her 8th win of the season as Bailey Dowling's game-winning home run gave the Crimson Tide the series win with the 2-1 victory in Game 2.
After a pitcher's duel on Sunday, Monday's Game 3 was an offensive explosion for both teams as the game featured 24 hits and 19 runs from both teams. Game 2 hero Bailey Dowling started Monday like she finished Sunday. In her first at-bat in the top of the 1st, Dowling sent the pitch over the wall in center to score Allie Shipman for the 2-run shot. With the score tied at 3 in the 4th, it was then Ashley Prangy's turn.
Prangy sent the Gators' pitch back over the center field wall, scoring Megan Bloodworth for the 2-run shot. But from there, the Gators' offense exploded, scoring 9 consecutive runs to take a commanding 12-5 lead. Bailey Dowling added a solo shot in the top of the 7th. Florida hit Savannah Woodard with the bases loaded to bring in another run, but Florida was able to get Ashley Prangy to fly out to center for the final out as the Gators took Game 3, 12-7. Now, despite that loss in Game 3 of the series, Alabama came away with the series win, taking 2 out of 3 from the 6th-ranked Gators in Gainesville.
Yeah, a big series win for the Crimson Tide as they improved their record to 33-6. That's the best in the SEC.
Certainly is.
And with that big series win on the road over number 6 Florida, the 4th-ranked Crimson Tide are now the 2nd-ranked team. Alabama moved up 2 spots. They're now 3 in the polls and 3rd in the other. This weekend is A-Day for the Alabama football team. We'll have the rundown of all the festivities taking place.
And we'll show you the highlights from the Tide's final scrimmage before Saturday's Golden Flake A-Day game. That and more coming up next on Tide TV This Week.
Tide TV This Week is presented by the University of Alabama, where legends are made. Ford, for great offers on F-150, see your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Crimson Tide.
They're headed to the Women's College World Series.
And the Alabama Crimson Tide are your SEC champions for the 6th time with a record-breaking run at the Rhodes House. And a perfect present for Montana Fouts and Alabama at the Women's College World Series.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week. The Alabama football team continued spring practice this week as the Tide practiced on Tuesday and Thursday as they prepare for the annual Golden Flake A-Day game on Saturday.
Crimson Tide also held their 2nd scrimmage of the spring on Saturday. Let's hear from Coach Saban and Bryce Young on how the scrimmage went and how spring practice is going heading into A-Day.
You know, we have guys that, play really, really well. And then, we got guys that, need to learn how to play well on a consistent basis. I would say that probably sums up where we are. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm, disappointed in any way. It's just that trying to get everybody to play to their full potential.
There's a lot of stuff for us to clean up. We didn't have our sharpest scrimmage this past weekend, and a lot of that's because of me. And I think that spring is a time for us to kind of iron out the kinks, for us to grow and get better. And you're always going to come into obstacles. So I think we know that, but at the same time, we can't be complacent. We can't be, okay with any shortcomings that we have. I'm excited for A-Day, super excited this weekend again. Another chance to compete, a chance for, the fans to come in, and whenever we get that support from the community, from the fans, it means the world to us. So, I'm super excited for this week of practice, for us to try to iron out some of the kinks and, to expand on the things we have been doing positively. And then for this weekend, A-Day, for us to, try to put on display for you guys and for us to go out and compete.
A-Day is finally here, Roger, and it's hard to believe it's been this long, but this year's A-Day game will be the 15th for Nick Saban as head coach of the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, the Tide will take to the field on Saturday at 2 o'clock for the annual Golden Flake A-Day game inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. And before the game, there are going to be a few things you may want to take part in. Wilbur Jackson and John Mitchell were instrumental in the integration of the Crimson Tide football team. Those two will be honored with a commemorative plaque unveiling outside Gate 1 at 12:30.
The Walk of Champions will take place at 1 o'clock, and this year's Golden Flake A-Day game will kick off at 2 p.m. and will be broadcast live on SEC Network Plus.
Before we go to break, let's take an all-access look at the highlights from the Crimson Tide's 2nd scrimmage of the spring.
Straightaway center. Oh, baby, did he do it? Yes, he did.
And now Drew Williamson, look out downtown.
Throw there is not in time, and Alabama is a winner. Both teams had a chance to celebrate today, but it's Bama's that counts.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week. Roger, postseason honors are starting to roll in, and the Tide picked up several in swimming and diving.
Alabama picked up several honors on both the men's and women's teams. Morgan Scott was named the SEC Female Co-Swimmer of the Year. All-America honors, and as well, Muhammad Farouk was named the SEC Male Freshman Diver of the Year.
Alabama also ranked third with 18 overall honors on the All-SEC teams. The Tide was first in women's first-team accolades with 8 and second in combined men's and women's first-team honors with 9. A big congratulations to head coach Margot Geer and the Crimson Tide on a great season and a lot of postseason honors.
Also, the Alabama track and field team earned some recognition this week as well. The Alabama men's track and field team moved up 26 spots in the outdoor track and field rankings this week. Crimson Tide is now ranked 10th in the nation in the track and field rating index.
The Alabama men's tennis team picked up a hard-fought 4-3 win over UAB on Sunday. The Tide dropped a couple of top 10 matchups earlier in the weekend to number 3 Florida and 9th-ranked South Carolina, but they closed out the weekend with a victory over the Blazers. The Alabama women's tennis team also played Florida and South Carolina this past weekend. The women fell 4-0 to number 15 Florida and 4-1 to 34th-ranked South Carolina.
The Alabama rowing team competed at the Pac-12 Invitational on Lake Las Vegas in Henderson, Nevada on Saturday and Sunday in extreme weather conditions. Strong headwind delayed racing by 3 hours, but through the conditions remained challenging. When racing resumed on Sunday, one race even had to be canceled, but 7 of the 8 races were able to go on. The Tide finished 3rd in 2 races and 4th in the other 5.
Stay with us as we reveal our plays and players of the week coming up next here on Tide TV This Week.
They're headed to the Women's College World Series.
And the Alabama Crimson Tide are your SEC champions for the 6th time with a record-breaking run at the Rhodes House. And a perfect present for Montana Fouts and Alabama at the Women's College World Series.
Gonzalez, fly ball to right field. Pickney hardly had to move. The throw is going to be in time.
Longley going oppo and coming on to make the scoop catch is Cat Grill.
Fly ball, right field, well hit, and it's gone. A grand slam home run. And Alabama has exploded here in the top of the 7th.
Lindsay. And the catch is made by Jenna Johnson down that left field line.
Graham sends one back. It is Superman. Oh, what a catch. In right field by Seidel. I thought that thing had a chance. And it was Superman stuff by Seidel making the catch.
Dowling launches that one deep down the line, and it stays inside the foul pole. Solo home run, Alabama, and they take the lead.
And Denton, who's the top slugger for Alabama, just went yard. He's been quiet all weekend long, but he has come up big time here in the top of the 10th. A 2-out, 2-run homer.
And welcome back to Tide TV This Week. Those were our ATI Plays of the Week. Now let's take a look at our Players of the Week, brought to you by Legacy of Hope.
Zane Denton had the game-winning hit in Game 2 against number 7 Ole Miss on Saturday. With the score tied at 10, Denton belted a 2-run shot over the wall in right center to give Alabama the 12-10 win. Denton had an RBI double and another home run in Sunday's win in Game 3. Then against Belmont on Tuesday, Denton picked up 2 RBI singles in the Tide's 3-1 win.
Bailey Dowling had both of the Crimson Tide's runs batted in Game 2 win over 6th-ranked Florida. Dowling gave Alabama the 1-0 lead on an RBI single in the 6th, then in the 9th, with the score tied at 1. Dowling blasted the game-winning homer over the wall in left field. Now, what would she do to follow that up in Game 3? Just 2 more home runs. Dowling finished with 2 homers and 3 runs batted in the series finale on Monday.
And we go with a couple of pitchers. Garrett Mcmillan got the set for the tone for the series against 7th-ranked Ole Miss as he picked up the win in Game 1. Mcmillan allowed just 1 earned run on 3 hits with 7 strikeouts in the Tide's 7-4 win. Mcmillan was also named the Southeastern Conference Co-Pitcher of the Week.
And coming off her perfect game against Georgia, Lexi Kilfoyle dominated the bats of number 6 Florida. Kilfoyle pitched a season-high 8 innings, allowing just 1 run while striking out 7 in Alabama's 2-1 victory to clinch the series win over Florida. Those were our Legacy of Hope Players of the Week.
And Roger, we still have a couple more athletes to spotlight this week.
We certainly do.
The Alabama athletics duo named Polly Mack and Tyler Sesvold, they were chosen as finalists for the SEC Scholar Athlete of the Year award. Mack is a 5th-year senior on the women's golf team, and Sesvold is a senior on the men's swimming and diving team.
The H. Boyd McWhirter Postgraduate Scholarship has been presented by the SEC to the league's top male and female scholar athletes since 1986, and this year's winners will be named on May 3rd. The recipients will be awarded a $20,000 postgraduate scholarship, while the 26 remaining male and female finalists for the award will receive a $10,000 postgraduate scholarship.
Wow, congratulations to Polly and Tyler. That is a very prestigious honor. Tune in next week as we'll have a full recap of the Tide's A-Day, plus we'll have the highlights from Alabama gymnastics and their run at the national championship.
We'll also have a recap of softball series with Mississippi State and baseball's matchup with number 1 Tennessee. See you next week, everyone. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
This has been a presentation from Learfield,